Welcome back. Of course, staying in Nigeria at this point, we go back to the diphtheria story where we understand that in the midst of the most severe diphtheria outbreak in recent global history, UNICEF and Nigeria is sounding the alarm about the urgent need for widespread vaccination. I'm now joined live by Dr. Samson Shonowo, Medical Director and founder of Shonowo Hospital. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Samson.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. Great. What are the primary symptoms and early warning signs of diphtheria that parents and caregivers should be aware of in children?
Well, for those who have practiced long enough, you would know that a disease does not present the same way in all patients. So, but the common one, since it's a disease that mainly affects the nose and the throat, there'll be difficulty in breathing. There'll be swollen neck from the lymph nodes. That's the body's response trying to curb the disease. There might be some cough. There is weakness, and there's difficulty in breathing and swallowing. Then there might be some other systemic systems like mild fever, chills, fatigue, things like that.
Now, could you explain the importance of vaccination in preventing this particular disease and how well are they being administered in the affected areas, particularly in Nigeria?
Well, that's the thing. Diphtheria is supposed to be its classification is classified under very rare diseases. You understand what I'm saying? It is totally vaccine preventable. There's a new pentavalent vaccine. Before, in the olden days, it used to be the DPT vaccine, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, taken at 6 weeks, at 10 weeks, and at 14 weeks of life. But now it's the pentavalent vaccine that we use. It's pentavalent 1, 2, 3 at the same date, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks of life. The difference between the DPT and the pentavalent is that the pentavalent is a combination of a vaccine for more diseases. It also contains the hepatitis B and the Haemophilus influenza disease vaccine. So it is totally vaccine preventable. I am actually surprised myself that there's an outbreak in the country for something that's totally vaccine preventable. And most of the time, the vaccination is supposed to be free at the primary healthcare centers. So I'm quite amazed myself at the outbreak. I really cannot explain it.
All right. Now, what treatment options would you say are available for individuals diagnosed with this particular disease? And how effective and available are these treatments?
Well, good thing is, unlike COVID, diphtheria is caused by a bacterium called Corynebacterium diphtheriae. So there's drugs for it. There's an antibiotic for the bacteria. But the thing about diphtheria is that it is not the bacteria itself that causes the disease. Once the bacteria gets access to the person's system, it attaches itself to the person's, what we call the mucous membrane. So that's the lining of the nose and the throat. Then it secretes toxins. It is the toxins that damages and kills the cells of the nose and throat. So the treatment is in two folds, or let me say three folds. First, the person must be vaccinated, there's no doubt. But secondly, you administer antibiotics to kill the bacteria and then the antitoxins to neutralize the toxins produced by the bacteria to damage the person's respiratory system.
Now, I would like...
And they are readily available.
Okay, great. I would like to ask you two questions. Yes, I would like to ask two questions rolled into one in quick succession. Now, the first being, are there any specific precautions in terms of hygiene practices that communities should follow to reduce the spread of this particular disease during this outbreak? And also, the second question being, how can concerned citizens or organizations contribute to efforts aimed at controlling and mitigating the impact of this particular outbreak in Nigeria?
Very good question. So the first, you talked about things we can do hygiene-wise to prevent the disease. Now, if you look at the states where the disease is most prevalent, you will find out that they are highly populated states. Kano, Katsina, you understand? If you look at the way the disease is spread, it's by droplets. Once the person coughs in the air, if someone else inhales it, that is it. So imagine something like that happening in an overpopulated area. You understand what I'm saying? There is really, although if you go to the WHO website, you will see washing of hands, maintaining social distance and everything, some COVID-like prevention kind of thing. The best way to prevent this disease is actually through vaccination. It is totally almost 100%, nothing is 100% in medicine, but this is almost 100% vaccine preventable disease. That is you cannot compromise on that. The others, maybe the other preventive measures like giving social distancing, washing of hands, and safe water, things like that are just to mop up the rest. But majorly, it's the vaccination. You understand? Can you repeat the second question, please?
Now, the second question I actually asked you is how can concerned both citizens and organizations contribute to efforts aimed at controlling, of course, the spread and the impact of this particular outbreak in Nigeria?
Of course, number one, like I said earlier, parents should ensure that their children are fully vaccinated against diphtheria with the 3 doses of the diphtheria antitoxin containing pentavalent vaccine. Pentavalent 1, 2, 3 at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks of life. Then, of course, the health workers have a role to play. They should also, in this state that we are now, they should also maintain a high index of suspicion for diphtheria. And they should also practice, what we call the standard prevention and control precautions while handling all the patients in their care. You get the healthcare workers who have been exposed to patients with diphtheria should also be vaccinated against diphtheria, irrespective of their own vaccination history.
All right. All right.
Individuals with signs and individuals with okay.
All right. I'm sorry to interject, but we are pressed with time. Once again, thank you so much for being on the news, Dr. David. Samson, sorry, apologies for that. Dr. Samson, once again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.